I'm Andy Breckman. I was a staff writer 82, 83 on the show.
James Downey, I was head writer from Labor Day 82 through 1983. This is the story of your tax dollars at work.
Well, now that tax time is here again, millions of Americans are wondering just where all their hard-earned money is going. Our staff has researched the subject thoroughly, and I'm sorry to report that they have found some shocking examples of government waste. Prepare now to be outraged as we look at your tax dollars at work.
One luxury that we did not have on the show is a dress rehearsal. Most sitcoms or Saturday Night Live, the material was tested with a live audience, but of course at late night, we didn't have that option. So we were doing material for the first time, and
Sometimes things would just go completely belly up, and it was unpredictable. We didn't ever try for this, but it happened, and then the pieces would just lay there, and he would start like fanning himself with them and like blotting his brow with
but
them.
audiences
And the audience would
love it.
That's when the piece became like an object that Dave was making fun of as opposed to the piece. It would just pivot. This particular piece, this is one where I had to talk Dave into like doing a bit of a performing attitude, because the premise was, are you as burned up as I am about the way our tax money is wasted down in Washington? I mean, you would believe some of the stuff we found. It was that kind of thing, And it was just a bunch of photographs. We would get just random photographs, and like some of the jokes in retrospect, because I looked at the piece recently, I kind of wonder why we thought that would get a laugh. I remember they had a running joke about George C. Scott, and it's like how about this? 15 million a year to hire actor George C. Scott as a congressional shrubbery guard. Does that make any sense to you? That kind of thing. And it was the audience. Nothing at all. There was one joke that I would go to my grave swearing is a genius joke. Feels like to me like Steve O'Donnell. I could be wrong. It was like, and how about this? 160 million for a special camera on the space shuttle to take pictures from space. And after all that money, only one picture came out. And then it was a publicity still of Noah Beery Jr. and Ken Curtis, who were kind of cowboy character actors. But the beauty of it wasn't even like a real photograph. It was like a studio shot where they're kind of posed like that, As the piece is going on, Dave starts doing the thing with the cards. And then you see him looking over and he was looking over at me and Andy. And then Hal Gurney, just one of the many genius things about Hal was he was the most nimble, playful director. If something started to happen, he'd get the handheld camera there to cover it.
As this bit devolved, and Dave was
devolves is exactly right.
And Dave was squirming more. The audience was
first uncomfortable, and then kind of.
Then they enjoyed
taking Dave's cue,
because it was. I think audiences love to see a bit eat it, because it was spontaneous and it was special.
It was absolutely real.
And then he would, I believe, if I remember correctly, he was started to reference the writers.
Did you? How many of you saw two grown men leave the studio?
Talk about nimble, as nimble as Hal was, Jim had a leftover art card from rehearsal that Dave had rejected.
It was probably a joke that we said, "Oh, do we need this one now?"
And so it had already failed. It had already failed some. It had already been rejected once.
This one we knew for sure.
What the hell did you think the audience would? So why was that the saver? So Jim entered the frame live on the air and handed Dave.
And I sort of like, this one, Dave. This one.
As if
this
it was
going to pull us out.
So Dave read that card.
He says, "I've been assured that this latest one will bring us all the way back." And so it was by far the worst response of the whole group. And so then
something about electrical towers.
Yeah, it was just
the most. It was
It
Off
was
the
like
charts
it was
surreal.
like a joke written by a non-English speaker or something, and then translated. It just
Meanwhile, you and I had retreated.
we'd
We
retreated.
thought we were safe backstage.
We saw the handheld appear with the red light on in the door. We knew we were going to be
Hal
on
had
camera.
Hal had directed the cameraman to find us, and we were caught on camera.
So we decided to do a big like
I don't know how much thought
a
there was
high
into
five
it.
kind of thing.
But no other show on the air, was that as nimble.
Yeah, Hal Gurney. I mean,
And Jim Downey.
no.
Some Capitol Hill bigwigs were upset that Hershey's Kisses only came in one shape. So, now the government is producing its own in all different sizes. The cost to the taxpayer, a staggering $1,600 per kiss. How many of you saw two grown men leave the studio? Oh boy. Boy, oh boy. Is it getting hot in here, Paul, or?
Only for comedians.
Yeah. All right. Here is number 2. The Pentagon just spent, remember this is your tax money, how it's being spent $800 million to develop a new top secret personnel carrier. Here it is, the Trojan Cow. You tell me, is this... Now, this summer, some bureaucrat at the White House decided it would be a good idea to have George C. Scott greet visitors at the door. The tourists weren't happy about it, George wasn't happy about it, and the program was abandoned after only one day. You see, George was nasty to diplomats. He would insult dignitaries, refuse to open the door for congressmen, and so they abandoned that program. And Lord, I wish we could abandon this one, but no. This is. Let me explain something to you. This is the kind of thing we build into a piece just as a little joke on the audience. Now, from this card on, this stuff is red hot. We're highly trained professionals. We know what we're doing here. You kids at home, don't fool with this stuff, but we know. These first 3, those were just... we just tossed them in there. Now, here we go. This is where your sides are going to be aching. As everyone knows, the agricultural sector of our economy is in sad shape. So what does Congress propose to cheer up the nation's farmers? The $22 billion Happy Haystack Program. No. Is it that time already? Well, all right, here's number 5. And number 5 has an asterisk by it, so we know this one is really incredible. Now, this one makes my blood boil. The man pictured here, Kyle Nonamaker, was knocking down $45,000 a year as a congressional shrubbery guard. Public outcry led to his dismissal, but guess who replaced him? Yes, George C. Scott. I'm losing the will to live. This brings us to number 7 for those of you scoring at home. You know, it makes sense for the military to stockpile strategic minerals such as chromium, vanadium, and platinum, but $160 million to store ballerinas? Maybe if Don came back out and explained these, we'd... All right, now, you may think that actor George C. Scott has wasted enough of your money. Well, guess again. Following his dismissal as a congressional shrubbery guard, He went on a rampage at a Washington sporting goods store. His actress wife, Trish Van Devere, tried to help clean up the mess, but the public ended up by footing the bill themselves. That's... All right, we will... Now, this would be the conclusion to this piece. It goes like this. Folks are on the wrong coast. Now, remember the $10 billion that NASA spent on a new satellite camera for the space shuttle? Yeah, we all remember that. Well, all right. $10 billion. It took over 2,000 aerial photos on the last flight, and incredibly, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the only one that turned out. Oh, no. All right, one more. Let me... one more. And I've been told by the writers that this one kind of ties the whole piece together. This is the keystone to the piece right here, this baby right here. In fact, just thought up. It hasn't even been typed. It's brand new writing. There you go. Your tax dollars. Sure, it would be great if hydroelectric power towers could jump up and down, but is it really worth the $2 billion being spent on the project? They're celebrating in the locker rooms here at Shea Stadium, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back with Richard Morris.